If grief has entered your life recently, you might be noticing something off happening with your energy. Maybe you're exhausted for days straight, no matter how much rest you get. Some days feel emotionally flat, blank, and numb, while other days you're flooded with anxiety and worry that jolts through you without any sort of warning. It's this emotional roller coaster with its intense highs and low lows that stretch throughout the day. And by the way, everything I've mentioned so far is something many grieving people recognize. It makes the days feel both endless and heavy, making it impossibly hard to navigate through. Does any of this sound familiar to you? In this video, I want to share with you why grief is so physically and emotionally exhausting, why it can feel almost impossible to sort through, and what you could do to better care for yourself during one of life's toughest experiences. Because once you see what's really happening inside of your body, navigating through grief becomes just a little bit easier. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. I'm Vera. I've been working in health for over a decade, and I'm coming up on 5 years in the grief space after experiencing my own spousal loss. Everything I share comes from both perspectives, the health side where I understand how the body works, and the live side where I've walked through immense grief myself. Because during the early days of my loss, I frustratingly kept asking myself, I know about health, so why can't I just make this better? Why can't I just make this all go away? And here's what I discovered. Grief doesn't only affect you emotionally, grief completely rewires how your body processes and uses energy. So to help better explain how this all happens, we'll need to start with the basics. How your body processes energy when life is stable and regulated, before the loss. From there, we'll look at what happens when grief or any sort of major life stressor pushes your body into dysregulation. Here, we'll also uncover the consequences of leaving our dysregulated body unaddressed. And finally, I want to share some tangible ways to support and strengthen your body through grief, whether you're experiencing the loss yourself or supporting someone close to you who is. Let's get started. Let's start with how the body looks at baseline. And what I mean by baseline is when your nervous system is regulated, or in other words, when your nervous system feels safe. Some may call this nervous system state the rest or digest state, or tend and befriend state. This is when you have more capacity to handle stressors thrown your way, like missing your alarm clock and running late, or someone cutting you off in traffic. Life can still be stressful, of course, but you have enough patience to respond appropriately, and then you could quickly return back to center like how you were just before the stressful incident happened. I've divided the energy gain and distribution into 5 categories that harmoniously work together to create the foundation of life. I'm going to go through these pretty briefly, just so you could see the whole picture, and then later I hope to do separate videos for each section. Because each one honestly deserves to be unpacked on its own, like how the biological mechanics work and such. But for now, before I get carried away, let's start with the overview first. So to start us off, we have food and nutrition. This is our daily fuel and building blocks. We're doing our best to eat meals with a wide array of fruits and veggies, with added protein sources. This is what nourishes and energizes our body throughout the day. Second, we have physical health. This is about building your physical capacity and resilience. Whether it's conditioning your body through strength training, doing zone 2 cardio, or simply moving regularly, like dancing or practicing martial arts, you're training your system to adapt and recover through explosive energy. You're literally practicing how to breathe through something vigorous, pushing through the discomfort, and bouncing back relatively quickly by catching your breath. This builds strength, maintains agility, prevents injury, and expands your body's energy reserves so you have more fuel in the tank. Third, we have mental and emotional well-being. This is how we manage your emotional world, by recognizing our subjective emotions and understanding our feelings. Recognizing triggers, noticing your warning signs when enough is enough, and having appropriate ways to self-soothe. Like for me, ice cream always makes everything better. Basically, you're not ignoring your emotions, and you're not drowning in them either. You're finding effective ways to work with them and through them whenever they come up. Emotions can be energy intensive, like anger or sadness. It's built into our nervous system as a signal that this event matters to me. Fourth, we have good old sleep. This is where your body conserves and restores energy. Even though we may be resting, energy is now distributed to other important tasks that usually can't be done during the day when we're awake. And that's growth, maintenance, and repair. It's when your brain and body basically do their housekeeping, regulating hormones, repairing tissues, recovering from the day's stress, like running late after that missing alarm clock, like I mentioned earlier. Sleep is the ultimate restart button for the next day. And lastly, life's major components, your sense of purpose and meaning. It's similar to the Japanese concept of ikigai. It's translated as a reason for being, or reasons that make life worth living, blending personal joy, passion, skill, and our contribution to the world. It's also framed as our relationships, our community, and even our spirituality. It's the deeper reasoning behind our why for every action that we do. And this will look so different for everybody. This can look like having routines that matter to you, people you can lean on, places you belong, anything that gives your life fulfillment. I include this because there's something worth noting about this particular energy source. It feels like it's renewable. It can only originate from within, and it's fueled by alignment with our personal values. Now, we'll take a look at what happens to these 5 categories during grief. As we know, grief comes in unpredictable ways and is emotionally intensive, which drains our energy. Grief is deeply psychological and emotional, and as we process the turmoil, our bodies have to brace for that too. There's sadness, anger, confusion, shock, so it's no wonder our entire system feels like it's working overtime. For me, during the very early days of my grief, by the end of the day, I was completely gassed out. What's happening is that our nervous system goes into overdrive. Our sense of safety and belonging that we felt when we're bonded to our loved ones gets severed, and now our body feels like we're no longer safe without them here. We have existential thoughts like, why did this happen to me? Where did my loved one go? What's the point now that they're gone? Even the nature of the death and our relationship with the person we lost adds layers of complexity to how we process and heal. There's so many thoughts to work through, plus all of the day-to-day tasks we still need to handle, all while our sense of stability and understanding of the world has been completely shattered. Our nervous system responds reflexively, trying to predict the future by protecting us in the present. It perceives that we're in a state of threat, which triggers an activated or alerted state called the fight or flight or the freeze and fawn, not the rest and digest or tend and befriend state that we covered earlier. But why does grief register as a threat when no physical danger exists? Because loss shatters predictability, and our nervous system craves stability to function. From an evolutionary perspective, our bonds with others are tied directly to survival. Losing someone triggers ancient alarms that equate separation with danger. Grief creates physical sensation in our body, which can look like chest tightness, shallow breathing, or exhaustion that mimic real danger. The body feels these symptoms and stays on high alert, unable to distinguish emotional pain from physical threat. All right, let's start with food. You might notice sudden changes in eating habits, intense cravings, or your appetite might completely disappear. We hear this all the time in our language. Whenever we're under distress, our stomach feels like it's in knots. And it literally is, because digestion is no longer a priority when our nervous system is trying to keep us safe by surviving what it believes is a threatening situation. Then there's the physical body. Some days you might feel so heavy you can barely move. Other days you're buzzing with panic or anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. You might experience numbness, shock, or the sense that your body isn't quite the same anymore. Our body becomes stiff, almost as if we're bracing for an attack. And to add, recent studies show that grief also increases inflammatory markers in the body, leading to depressive states like lethargy or loss of interest, or even anhedonia, which is the inability to feel pleasure. Our nervous system is trying to process something massive, One day it shuts down to protect us, the next day it's on high alert. Both can happen even within a single day. These are natural responses as our body tries to cope through a major life transition. Third, the emotional world becomes harder to navigate. You might find yourself more easily triggered or hypervigilant, like you're scanning for dangers even when there isn't any. Anxiety and depression can show up, sometimes together, sometimes swinging back and forth. People talk about the window of tolerance, which is basically the range of emotions you can handle before feeling overwhelmed or shutting down. In grief, that window gets smaller. Things that didn't used to bother you now feel unbearable. You may feel irritated easily or feel hopeless. I'm naming these experiences because they're actually quite common. And if you felt any of this, I want you to know that you're not alone in feeling this way. Then there's sleep, which becomes an unreliable source of energy. You might have trouble falling asleep, or you fall asleep fine, but wake up multiple times in the middle of the night, lying there trying to fall back asleep. Or you sleep through the night, but still wake up feeling exhausted, like your body didn't actually get the restoration it needed. Sleep gets disrupted because the stress system stays on high alert for a longer period of time, especially during the quiet nighttime hours when there's more space to think about the loss. And then lastly, there's the existential piece that people don't always expect. Grief can bring despair and helplessness, a sense that nothing matters anymore or that you don't know who you are without the person you lost. Your identity shifts. Your sense of purpose feels shaky. The routines that used to ground you might now feel meaningless. There's actually a term for this called the dual process model of grief. It describes how in grief we oscillate between two modes. Loss-oriented, we are processing the pain of what's gone, and restoration-oriented, where you're trying to rebuild your life and figure out how to move forward. You swing between these two modes, sometimes multiple times a day. This oscillation is not only normal, it's necessary. Your nervous system needs breaks from the intensity of loss to regulate itself, and it needs time immersed in the pain to actually process it. Neither mode alone is sufficient for healing, and each mode requires different demands on your nervous system. Now, as we tie all the 5 categories together, during grief, it's clear that grief just isn't a standalone emotion. It's a full body event that reorganizes your entire system. Your body redirects energy towards survival and processing the loss, which is why everything else suddenly feels so much heavier. Simple tasks become monumental. Relationships require effort you don't have. This isn't dysfunction, it's your body's wisdom at work, bracing against immense pain. This is a normal body response, and I've heard many times before. Am I grieving correctly? Am I supposed to feel this way? And the short answer is yes. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's just that the discomfort of grief is exactly what the body is designed to do amidst loss, which can feel exhausting and unrelenting. But here's what's really important to understand. When grief becomes prolonged, or when any chronic state keeps your nervous system activated for far too long, this redistribution of energy becomes unsustainable, like a plant wilting without water. Your body begins to lose its life force. This chronic mismanagement of energy creates the conditions for illnesses that we see today, like diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, anxiety, depression. These aren't separate issues, they're the body's response to running on empty for far too long. Now, this is the part I want to be careful with. Moving back toward regulation doesn't mean you return to the version of who you were before the loss. It means your system learns how to live again with the loss included. I remember a moment where I caught myself thinking, I just want to go back to what it was like before, to taste again what normal used to feel like. And then I realized there really is no such thing as going back. After the difficulty of learning just that, my goal eventually shifted to, can I build a life that is sustainable with my grief? And what can my new normal look like without my loved one in this physical world? That's what this next part is about. Not forcing your way back to how things were, but supporting your body as it reorganizes and finds its new equilibrium. Let me walk you through what this can look like across the same 5 areas we've discussed before. Food and nutrition becomes about steady support. This isn't about perfection or eating clean or following some strict plan. It's about gentle, consistent nourishment. Fuel that your body can actually use. Sometimes that means eating smaller, more frequent meals because your digestion is still so sensitive. Sometimes it means keeping easy foods that are hopefully nutrient dense as possible nearby, because cooking during the heavier days feels almost impossible. The goal is to give your body what it needs to go through each painstaking day without adding more pressure. Physical health is about rebuilding capacity, not physically pushing through. This can look like restoring movement or even improving your physical resilience over time, not as something you have to force or power through, but as a way to build the capacity your body needs to handle what you're going through. This might mean becoming more body aware, learning to recognize when you're in a calm state versus an activated state, noticing when your body's holding tension, understanding that gentle movement can help discharge some of that stress your nervous system is carrying. You're not trying to fix yourself with exercise, you're giving your body tools to process what it's holding. Next, your mental and emotional world needs space to recalibrate. You might start noticing psychosomatic responses where emotional stress shows up physically in your body. And I want to be clear, this isn't all in your head. Grief is literally in your body. Grief lives in our tissues, our muscles, our nervous system, as you saw how energy is redistributed in your body. This is where developing coping strategies matters. Not to suppress what you're feeling, but to expand your window of tolerance again. To give yourself ways to self-soothe when you're overwhelmed and ways to gently engage when you're starting to shut down. It's learning to work with your nervous system instead of against it. Next, sleep restoration changes everything. Sleep is where your body and mind process, repair, and integrate experiences, including loss. Grief dreams, though sometimes intense or unsettling, are actually your unconscious mind's way of working through what you're experiencing. Your brain is actively processing the loss, reorganizing memories, and trying to make sense of what's changed. This is healing work happening beneath your awareness. Even partial improvements in sleep can have a ripple effect across all 5 categories we discussed. Your physical energy, mental clarity, emotional capacity, social engagement, and sense of meaning. When your body can actually rest and restore at night, when it has the space to do this deeper unconscious processing, you have more capacity during the day. Growth, maintenance, and repair all happen during sleep, and that includes emotional repair as well. Improving sleep might look like creating a wind-down routine, designing a sleep environment that is optimally suited for rest, like having a colder environment. It's also important to find ways to reduce stimulation before bed, while also working with your nervous system by giving it ample time during the evening to signal that it's safe to rest. Even small improvements here matter because better sleep doesn't just mean more energy. It means your mind has a space it needs to process grief at the pace your body can handle. And then lastly, rebuilding purpose and meaning. This can look like slowly restoring connection to what matters again, strengthening relationships with people who get it, or finding new connections through support groups or grief services like hospice groups that help you feel less alone in this. Recreating small routines that give your day more structure. Noticing brief glimmers when they appear, moments of connection, beauty, or purpose, and times when your nervous system feels safe and settled, even if only briefly. What I've learned is that sometimes rebuilding ourselves also means creating boundaries, which I know may come as a surprise for you, but rebuilding a new identity with loss means understanding what you can and can't carry anymore. For me, I've lost many friends along the way, but also gained new ones that offered peace. During this time, you start asking yourself different questions of what you can and can't handle. Questions like, what in my life is demanding my energy right now? Is it funeral arrangements or handling estates? What resources do I realistically have? Do I have friends and family that I can safely confide with and count on? And genuinely asking yourself, what is possible today? Not what I should be doing according to some unspoken timeline or what others think grief should look like, but asking what's actually workable for me. Here's the key point. The goal isn't to force energy back into your system. The goal is to support your body as it reorganizes energy, to work with your nervous system as it learns to feel safe once again, to give yourself what you need to build a life that includes your grief, not one that pretends it doesn't exist. You're not trying to get back to who you were. You're learning to become who you are right now, which takes time and new experiences. It's important to have patience, compassion, and the willingness to discover this version of yourself that carries on forward with the loss. I know this was a lot of information, but I wanted you to understand that what you're experiencing isn't weakness or failure. It's not something you need to snap out of or rush through. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do by protecting you and keeping you safe as it navigates through unknown territory. Grief is uncharted for your system, and yet your body has an innate wisdom about how to move through it. Trust that reflexive response. If you found this helpful, I'll be creating follow-up videos that go deeper into each area, going through the biological intricacies of what's happening inside of your body through grief, practical tools for working with your nervous system, like supporting your sleep, rebuilding physical capacity, and much, much more. In the meantime, be gentle with yourself. Your body is working harder than you realize. And again, thank you for being here. I know it's not easy, but you showed up, and that's what truly matters. Until next time, my friends.